So it is 6:30 on the news, according to my computer. And I am going to call this meeting of Appointments and Ordinances Committee to order.
Excuse me, Catherine, you can't see the room.
Hold on.
You can't see them. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we are. Hello.
There we go.
You and just entered as well. And she's not part of it. Okay, so the meeting is being recorded. If anyone else is recording, let us know. Are you recording? No, not tonight? Okay. Are you recording? No? Great. And we will start with a roll call of members. And we will start with Councillor Webb.
Here.
Councillor Williams? Here. Councillor Bulldog? Here. Councillor Bullock is here. We have quorum. There are no minutes to accept from previous meetings. And now is time for public comment. So if anyone wants to give public comment, you're welcome to share. You could give public comment, but you're also welcome to join us for the conversation. So
Let's do the
Yeah.
conversation.
yeah. So if anyone wants to give public comment, please write your name here. And you can, given that people haven't written it down yet, actually, it's fine if you write your name when you give public comments. If you want to sit down and give public comment, that works. If you're online and would like to give public comment, please put your name in the chat and we will address you after folks in person have spoken. And I'm a stickler about time just to be fair to everyone. I'm a stickler about time, so I do give 3 minutes and I do put on a timer. So to let you know when 3 minutes are over, and you're welcome to speak until 3 minutes are over and then I'll be done to complete. So when you give public comment, please say your name and where you live.
I'm Pamela Goodwin. I'm at 54 High Street here in the city. I think I have just 3 main concepts. One is, it just feels like an immense amount of ordinances and changes that we're trying to pull through. I recently watched chairs and, many times we have to send it up to the lawyer, which costs us a lot of money. And there's a lot going on with ordinances. And there has been I would say this whole session. I'm also not happy with some of the changes for the assemblies. I think I've had conversations with some of the police people, and I think it's tying their hands when you start restricting what they're able to do should a particular assembly decide to get a little out of control. And I believe there may even be an opportunity to have the police department come in and make public comment about how they personally feel about it. I know quite a few of them. I work with them in the warming center. I'm in the substation quite a bit. So I'm a little concerned about the changes that are being put forth in the assembly. I just read parts of the gender affirmation thing in the long form, and I have really good friends who are of particular sexual orientation. I don't have any problem with them. I love them. Everything is kosher. And I've had to use the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination several times in my life. And that's a protected class through the MCAT. So the kinds of things that the city is trying to do, I briefly kind of went through it. I get unisex toilets, that's fine. I think they maybe all could be that way. But it's looking like it would be costing the city some money to do some changes in the future. And I don't know what the worry is, to be honest, because I think people have been very respectful. We have a protected class, and then we have made a resolution in favor of people of different sexual orientation. And this particular going item by item going through, the last item says, somebody's in the waiting room. The last item says that should part of this be passed by city council and a court throws it out as being illegal, the rest of it gets to stand. So you have a protective section in the very end of this thing. And so I don't, maybe that's the way to have things thrown out, but it seems kind of the cart before the horse. Thanks.
This is not typically how we do it, just so folks know from now on, when you come into the room, if you could put your name on the list. But just because no one's name is there, I'll just keep asking. So please write your name and then state your name. There you go.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Gary Sullivan, Harbor Court. Here to talk about the ordinance, the Assembly's ordinance. Waking up this morning, listening to things, I thought, oh my God, do we have to figure out a way to include a prohibition at public assemblies of using gloves that shock people? I just thought, how does that apply to what's being written? I got the latest draft a couple days ago. I considered it. I got an email out to you like 57 minutes ago or something. So if you haven't seen it, I would understand. My highest level concerns in Article 1 have to do with the part that excludes demonstrations directed at people's residences. The way I think of it is that in our Constitution, we have an unrestricted right to free speech and assembly. In the same article, there is the phrase about pursuit of happiness. That's protected. It's only the pursuit. So to me, that the right of assembly overrules the pursuit of happiness, and everything that you stated as reason. So I'm just making my case. Everything you stated as reason falls under pursuit of happiness, as far as I can understand it. And so having a demonstration on public property, a sidewalk in front of a residence, I think ought to be preserved. So I again ask for that to be removed. And that's really the most important thing that I continue. I have a bunch of stuff that are sort of weedy that I hope will be useful. Thank you for the work. Oh, you know what I didn't say is that the things that are in the draft now, the additions, they're just wonderful improvement. And point at that, particularly the references to the Massachusetts law, I think are really helpful. I didn't go and check them out in Massachusetts law, but it gives a standing that I think is useful. That's what I have to say. Good luck.
Thank you. Comment if anyone from the community wants to speak. Do you want to speak? No? Did you want to give public comment there?
I did.
Okay, go ahead. Can you write your name down first?
Yes, I can. I can write my name down first.
And your
My name is Ginny
Place of
DeSorger.
residence?
I live in Greenfield. I wanted something about the one that from the assessor's office about checking the cards. I think this is just a discussion item.
It is yes, it is.
But I just wanted to say, I think that having all the elected officials be checking is a good thing. And I think it's a great idea. It's a fine idea, but practically speaking, to get all the people on boards and commissions to do this, we have like, maybe it's 80% of the folks that hadn't finished their ethics that we're supposed to. Getting everybody to comply with something can take a long time to do. And we try very hard to get things that we have to do done, like ethics training and your compliance with that. And so to have to get every board member and commission member to check that would be a lot. But I support the half of it about having elected people. Chuck, sorry, Jim. But on a practical level, I just had to say that. That's all.
Okay, because we'd be administering money.
Okay.
Would affect it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone else from the public, from in person want to give public comment? So from online, is there anyone's name there?
Okay. Yes, Stephanie Duclos.
Okay, Stephanie Duclos.
Hi, Stephanie Duclos, Precinct 8. I do have some concerns about the ordinances that are being passed this evening. And one in particular about the police department. I have actually been in the middle of fairly violent protests where I was running in Boston Common, where gas was used and police cars were on fire and storefronts were being smashed out. So I'm not quite sure what options you're leaving the police department to respond to that. There's been a lot of changes. I think we have a fantastic police department. I don't see us having a problem, and it seems to me like this is more inciting potentially a problem. Living in proximity to downtown and constantly having problems in my area, to exacerbate that, if there were to happen to be a protest that bled out into the neighborhoods, what would be I mean, what do you expect the public to do? Do you want us to take up arms against people that may be encroaching and threatening to us? Like, I think this doesn't have enough thought behind it. I know Sarah Brown's been working on it for some time, and there's been a lot of changes that you guys have brought. Honestly, I'm really upset about the fact that you guys are jamming a lot of stuff down and people don't really understand, and you don't really make the effort to go out and make people understand or try and, a lot of times I'm cut off in public comment, or my ideas or my comments are dismissed. I want to remind the city council that I have been a resident of Greenfield for 50 years. So I'm not just talking about things that I don't have firsthand knowledge about. A lot of the counselors are brand new to the city, brand new to our council, and the outreach is a little dismal to the public. I can tell you, Laura Wondolowski's running for Franklin first, and I have yet to have a conversation, and I have real significant problems in my precinct. I haven't had a conversation with somebody who wants to represent me in my precinct at the state level. So I think that when you guys are pushing all of these ordinance changes, I don't think that you guys are actually making the attempt to make anybody outside of your small circle aware of what's going on. I appreciate the work. I actually really like a lot of the work Sarah Bullock's been doing. I think she has a real handle on historical knowledge.
Thank you, Stephanie.
3 minutes are up.
They are.
I didn't hear
Yeah.
the bell. Thanks
Yeah.
for letting me speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No.
There are no public hearings today, so we will move to motions. So move to page 3, motions. Can somebody read the motion on page 2?
Order number FY 27-026, City Council Order, City of Greenfield, Massachusetts. The City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council pursuant to Charter Section 2-10 affirms the following appointments by the Mayor, Council on Aging, Michael, I can never say his name, Mastro Totaro. Mastro Totaro, term to expire December 31st, 2027. Short term to fill remaining term of Karen Shepherd, who resigned June 16th, 2026. Human Rights Commission, Zoe Smith, term to expire December 31st, 2027. Short term to fill remaining term of Robin Whitcomb, who resigned December 4th, 2024. Planning Board, Thomas Bledsoe, term to expire December 31st, 2027, moving from alternate to full member. Planning and Construction Committee, Patricia Cromack, term to expire December 31st, 2029, majority vote required.
Any seconds? Second it?
Second.
Think,
Proceed.
quiet. Discussion?
Actually, I think a lot of the candidates are really particularly qualified, which is actually really nice to see. Not that I want to discourage anyone from serving in general, but when you see a nice slate of people, you're like, okay, I like it.
And gratitude as always for. I heard you were thinking about having like a fair, commission fair. I don't know, it's the rumor, but just like, wow, there's a lot of commissions and committees and boards, and we don't need to go into details of that, but just like, wow, that was like,
We need to vote.
we do need to vote. Yeah, and we're discussing, and I'm saying that to express gratitude to, yeah, wow, like there's a lot of people serving. Yes, to them.
Yes.
Yep. Any other discussion? No? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Counselor Webb,
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Golden is yes. All right. So the next item is for discussion, taking from the table. Let's just do a formal, I don't know that this is necessary, but this is on the table. So in order at full council meetings to discuss something that's on the table, we need to vote to take it from the table. So let's do that just to make sure we're all good. So let's vote does somebody move to take this from the table?
I will move that, and what is it, FY20, this order here? I can't.
Yeah, you can just move to take it from the table.
I move that we take this motion from the table.
Second.
Right? Counselor Webb?
Yes. Vote yes.
Sounds-
Oh. Are you
Yes.
asking for a vote?
To take it from the table, yes. Yeah, okay, Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Bullock?
Yes.
Counselor Golub is a yes. Okay, so I want to first say that we're not going to vote on this motion today. We're just going to discuss it. The first thing. And then the second thing is that I want to say this is a iteration of this that I actually wrote after my concerns about that I expressed at the last meeting. Counselor Brown submitted it. I looked at it and honestly still thinking about it. I put this forward when giving it more thought. I think that what we're trying to do with this is not to completely, before it was reading more as pepper spray versus tear gas. And I think that the intention more is what weapons, for lack of a better word, or crowd control agents, might be another way to say it, can be used against an entire crowd indiscriminately versus what can be used against a violent individual. And so that is, these are my this is thinking about this. And we wanted to bring this to the community and to the committee for feedback. It's a very different iteration. And so we're only discussing this, we're not voting on it, but wanting to hear folks' thoughts about this presentation. What can be used against a crowd indiscriminately versus what can be used against a targeted violent individual. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an important distinction to make, because I think that in a situation where you have somebody who there's great evidence against around. Perhaps they're a murderer, they're a violent criminal, they're in a house, you need to get them out of the house. However, how you do that, I don't have a problem with tear gas being used in that situation. In terms of the apprehension of somebody who's clearly violent. In a situation of people assembling, I've seen too many cases of overreaction of police because they are trained to take control over a situation. How they read a crowd is subjective sometimes. I mean, I think it tends to be. And I think I would reserve methodology in that case in terms of a demonstration downtown, let's say, versus the apprehension of a violent criminal. I think it's two very different things, and we have to be very clear on that.
There's a lot of changes here. I want to highlight just one is that if I can recall, it was another paragraph. I wanted to make that abundantly clear. And so I added that, and this is where, and I did research on where bans against tear gas bans have been put into
On page 5.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Google Doc. It just helps me.
Targeted deployment versus indiscriminate.
Yeah, and I'm looking at 217.9G. So there have been multiple municipalities where they've passed straight out tear gas bans that didn't just apply to First Amendment assemblies. And those have met legal challenges. So I wanted to, but this is particularly in terms of First Amendment assemblies. And I don't think this is a necessary paragraph, but I think it's necessary to reiterate and make clear the intention of I don't think for it to be implemented, it wouldn't be necessary, but to make it abundantly clear, I added in 217.9G, which says that it's for specifically circumstances outside of First Amendment assemblies, and saying like they could be used, including but not limited to hostage situations, barricaded subject instances, and other critical incidences not involving the First Amendment assembly. And we had earlier amended it to say this is just your First Amendment assemblies. But I wanted to make that clear. Mhm.
Permit me a silly question, but
Please.
aren't these rights guaranteed under the First Amendment anyway?
No. You mean the right to not have
Well, you
crowd control agency used against you?
well, that's the thing. If that's a violation of your First Amendment rights.
Not as implemented by most law throughout the United States.
Yeah, well, no agency is going to say, well, we did it because we didn't like what you had to say.
Wait, maybe I'm not understanding.
I'm just curious as to what everything here says, very specific to First Amendment assemblies. I just don't know that in particular is at threat of being egregiously offended.
The tear gas being used at First Amendment assemblies was not.
I don't think I'm thinking on the fly.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
But I just don't know that we have the circumstances in the city that really justify this being so specific.
Yeah.
Like the First Amendment right to assembly and all that, that's just so institutional. Like even Massachusetts, protects us like that. And I'm legitimately curious, what the thought process is, bringing it down to the municipal level is what I'm getting at.
Well, in terms of, we have had, I don't know when our First Amendment assembly ordinance was, but the one that's being amended, I think it was initially, like for folks to understand the history of this long conversation that we've been having about First Amendment assemblies, this started last year when we were doing our ordinance review. And so Greenfield does have First Amendment assembly ordinance, but it is quite cumbersome. And that was initially what I was updating to make it simplified and reflects current practice. Yeah,
Gotcha,
and
okay.
so we have had it for, and I don't know when, that might have been the first time we had it in 2015, or that might have been a revision. The crowd control piece was added by Councillor Brown,
Mhm.
and her articulation initially of it was kind of pepper spray versus tear gas. And this is me saying, okay, if we're going to have something on crowd control, then I think that it should be legislating indiscriminate versus discriminate use, as opposed to, and I think that's actually the initial intent of that.
Gotcha, okay. See, now I'm looking at it with 2 feet on the ground. Gotcha, okay, because I was like, what is the point of getting this specific at this particular level? But the foundation is important. I think.
Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Max is the speak.
I can,
You see
I
it?
can send it,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I?
Councillor Webb?
Yeah, that I kind of was gonna go for the zoom out as well. Like this started because of just a regular, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're just turning up the volume a little bit.
Okay. This started as just like a regular like ordinance update, like nothing with an agenda behind it, literally just due to the charter. And now I think it's this whole huge big thing, and it's like exhausting, honestly. I think we can all agree that we're tired of talking about it. I do like like in terms of the crowd control, like my question is, if it's banned in international law, why do we have it? At the same time, I'm not a police officer. I don't know what like if you don't have pepper spray or tear gas, like why the next thing is a gun. Like I would like more information on that. But I also feel like this is a bigger conversation, and like I I think it's where I agree that it feels so specific and it feels so like weedy that it's like it's getting too weedy. And then also I think the question is then like, what are the checks and balances of this? Like we are implementing an ordinance that our police and enforcement and judiciary systems need to follow. But then police have their own practices of like, this is the best practice to do this. And I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I'm also like, where is the happy medium? And like, what, I don't know, like the arguments I've heard, I'm like, on one side, I hear the people in this room that are like and I know our police, I'm not worried about going downtown and like being pepper sprayed or whatever. Like that's not a fear of mine. But then I think other people that I talk to are like, well, the police aren't the mayor. They don't get to decide how we want to be policed. And so these are the conversations I'm having, and I'm hearing both sides. And I'm wondering like could this be passed without like what's the bare minimum for this to be passed without like adjust like, or can we revisit the pepper spray? And I don't know. Am I making sense? Am I just rambling?
Do you have a specific question or proposal? I agree that I don't want to we've been deliberating this a really long time, and also, I'm also tired about it. And I also don't want to pass, like, laws, I don't want to pass bad.
No, I know. And like we're already
I don't know that what we were doing last time, the last iteration, was actually reflecting the intention of it and actually what we want to be doing. And so
right. Could we maybe reset what the intention of passing this is? Could we start there?
I think, I mean, the purpose, you could see 217.2.1. The purpose of this policy is to protect and uphold the rights of individuals and groups to exercise free speech, assembly, association, and to petition the government for redress of grievances as they are essential to a free and informed democracy and representative democracy government. Then you could go to the crowd control. Do you want me to read that?
No, I'm just like, I get that we have the legalese written, but like,
I mean, I don't know I think that is the purpose.
yeah. So are we, I guess I feel like we're so far off from a purpose. I feel lost in the sauce.
So the question is, have we gone down the rabbit hole?
Yeah,
And it seems like we have.
yeah.
And I remember having a conversation a while back when I first took a stab at this, because we've been passing this around a bit.
Yeah.
And what we have in the books right now is essentially about scheduling more than anything else. That's it. That's the language that's in the present ordinance. Personally, I don't have a problem with that. I question still, do we need to have all of this? Is it necessary? And here's the difficulty of this one. I don't believe it's necessary to have all this language today, right now, in Greenfield. But we may need to have better language 5-10 years down the road in Greenfield because of who's the police. I don't know. So it's a difficult question because you create ordinances to stand. You don't create them for the moment. You create them to stand. So I know we're tired of this, but I'm wondering if we're creating more of a problem than we are resolving at this point. Have we gone too far with this?
I think it's a question for the committee.
Yeah.
Do we want a crowd control to then present to the council? And then it's a question for the council. Does Greenfield, and like we're elected to represent Greenfield, does Greenfield as a whole want a clause? And then I'll put you on stack, Councilor Wood. Does Greenfield as a whole want a clause governing crowd control? If the answer is yes, then I think we owe it to the town of Greenfield, city of Greenfield, to have the best articulated language possible. And that has taken some work because it's a really complicated question. I think that's a question. I think that's an essential question. Do we want a law governing crowd control of First Amendment assemblies? I've grappled with it personally. I think that it is worth it to have. Well, precisely for the reason you're saying, for the future.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the question to all of us. Do we want it? And then if so, what language do we have?
Yeah, that all sits well, and I agree. Like, we don't know what the future holds. I guess I also do feel like, you know, it's hard. We come to these meetings and we hear one side, and then throughout my life I hear other sides. And so like I appreciate the thought from you and even from like Stephanie and from Pam, just like more communication around the thing that we're talking about, because I feel like I hear from one person here and one person there and one person here, and it is a lot to digest. And yeah, I feel like, are we, like, I do agree it's nice to have a crowd control ordinance on the books in case things get worse, but it also is so like weedy and like a lot that, I mean, we send this to council, we're gonna be talking about it for another 6 months. Like,
No, not at council. No, that's why we do the work here. That's why I refuse to send unvetted language. That's why I asked the committee to do that hard work so that we don't. It could, but I don't think, I've never seen I haven't seen a proposal in the last 4 years stay at council for 6 months.
I mean, it's in hyperbolic language, but I still mean like it's a lot for someone to just have a yes or no vote on. Like, there's still going to be a discussion or two on it, and like it is going to still be a process.
Okay, so I have a question. So I think there might be a sequence of questions then. I mean, one question for us is, do we want a law about crowd control?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that's do we want a law about crowd control? And the second is, there's a proposal here
that I'm totally game to simplify, and I think that there is simplification, like I'm game, which would require another discussion, right? Which is like, it's like sometimes we try to get out of a cover, like to get out of the weeds, we need to talk about getting out of the weeds. I don't know how to, I'm willing to,
No, that
I'm not attached to this. This is a,
yeah. To me, like the path of least resistance feels like revisiting the, I'm sorry, I'm losing the crowd control measure of it. But if we're committed to seeing it through, then like, I think we have to accept it's going to be a lot more of this.
It doesn't have to be that long of a road. We can't talk as a quorum between between meetings, but we can look at an ordinance and send to the clerk and through the clerk to each other specific revisions. So if there's specific things that if people do feel like you want some crowd control ordinance, but there's pieces of this that you want to change, you could name them now, or you could also write them down, like between sessions. That's also a possibility.
We could also have a working session. I think for me, having a discussion is incredibly important.
What's the difference between that, a working
So,
session and this?
We literally would come in just to talk about this.
But
For like-
why, I mean, we could,
but we have other things on this agenda that would fill it up. But if we wanted to draft something together and talk about it together, we could have that as a structured working session. And that would abide by open meeting law.
I mean, I think I'm open to that. But if we're trying to, I've never seen that happen, and I'm open to it. I don't see why we don't, like, how I come to these meetings is I look at a thing and I make a lot of questions and I make revisions beforehand. And so
So
I don't know that
basically,
we get a quorum for another meeting.
the idea behind it is that when I look at these, I have questions about what is the intent? What is being asked? Am I inferring? Am I putting my own biases unintentionally onto this question? I want to talk to the people who are thinking about it. I want to talk to the people who are affected by it. And so something like that, because I enjoy looking at this and seeing how much specificity that you put into this. And I almost feel guilty trying to strip all that away. But at the same time, I think the intent is really an important kind of a question. We could have something like a chemical weapons ordinance or something like that, or something to that effect that we could build from this. And then from there, get like a point on the ground. But at this point, it feels like the conversation from the public is so mixed that it might not be worth going forward with this particular draft until we can find something that like we have a foundational building block and can build up from there.
I'm feeling confused because I think I'm hearing two requests from the committee. One is to get this over with already, and one is to put a whole lot more work into it. And I don't know how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I understand why you're confused, but the problem is we can't get it over with because it's not in good shape right now. And we have to get it in good shape. In order to get it in good shape, I think some stripping away has to happen. This has to get simplified. And there's a lot of specificity in here, and I appreciate the work. I know a huge amount of work for a whole lot of people has gone into this already, but we're in Alice in Wonderland right now. We are down the rabbit hole and we're having the tea party. Okay, so, and that's on record, oh dear. All right.
Everyone's welcome.
Yay, so, all right, yeah, you voted for me. Anyway, so I think that one of two things need to happen. We need to have a special meeting and have everyone at the table and go through bit by bit, piece by piece, with a clear understanding of what the hell we're doing.
You cut down on emails that way. It saves so much.
Just have a special meeting and sit and go through the pain of it and just do that. And have everyone at the table and make sure that both, that Sarah can be here. She did so much work on it.
Right.
So let's try to do that because we have to understand the intention of this. We have to understand the purpose of it, what it is and what it isn't.
Okay.
Okay?
So would you,
So I'm hearing 2 requests for a meeting specifically on this ordinance. Instead of just specific questions or like proposals right now.
Right.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Counselor Webb?
Yeah, I think everyone explained everything well. I agree. A special meeting with everybody at the table would be great. And I think that would, I mean, I know that seems like more work up front, but I think that's the quicker answer. I think to just sit down and be in the funk all together and decide. And I don't know if that also means inviting relevant department heads or other relevant people as well.
I actually think that's a good idea, only because we've gotten so far into the weeds. It would be like, I'd like to hear from like the police, or if anybody else is gonna be charged with enforcing a piece of this. I think that's gonna be huge. Because we may end up with a brand new ordinance.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the reason that we're so far in the weeds is because we've been looking at the same piece of wallpaper for so long that we've forgotten what the house looks like.
Time to strip it off the wall.
And it's not like when we can say that we've been doing this for a long time, and also we've gotten lost. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually think that's an optimistic way to look at it, because I think it means that we're taking it seriously enough to go back to the drawing board after such a long period of time. So I like all the work that's been done to this. I really like the amount of thought that's been going into this. And I think the questions being asked right now are really important. And for what it's worth, because we have a reporter in the room, we can use it now as an opportunity to be like, hey, if you have an opinion on this, please come and talk to us. Like, we want to hear from you, before this even gets to the point of public hearing. The more number of people that we've all heard from in our personal lives and in our conversations, that's the thing that we can personally bring. But not enough people have been coming in and talking to us about these particular broad, large, impactful ordinances that I think having a larger conversation would be really helpful. Especially in just determining the intent, like, what do the people want us to be doing? What do the people want as far as policing, and how do we want to go forward with this as a community? I think that's a huge foundational block.
I do want to say, like, we're not, like, this isn't just like, oh, like, we're gonna do this. Like, there are people that are like, yeah, there should not be tear gas, but there's also people that are like, stop doing this. And then there's people that email us 50 minutes before a meeting. And so it's like, there are literally like, it's not a vacuum, because there's so many flippant opinions, like, and that's why it's taken so long. But I just want to say that it's not like, I don't want it to, I'm sure it feels like it's like, we don't know what people want, but it's like, we actually know what so many people want, and it's so many different things.
Okay, so I hear that request from the committee. I can do it. I think, and I hear the request from the community too, to have the ability to participate more. I'll be honest, I think that part of my reluctance is I think about words quite introvertedly. And so I will facilitate it as the chair of this meeting. I feel really clear about this and unattached to it. Like, I do want something that reflects. It's impossible to reflect the will of the entire community, because the entire community is in multiple opinions, but I want something that reflects it as effectively as possible. I would just really request that. I think that this is a lot of words. I actually think there is quite a bit of clarity here, but I guess I would request, I'm thinking out loud, that people that we're working with, not completely from, I'm thinking out loud. I'm just thinking about facilitating the meeting in a way that hears everyone, in a way that doesn't actually set us way back, that actually moves us forward, and that I can both facilitate the community and think about words at the same time. So I may have I want to think about that more, but I think one specific request is to come not with a blank slate, but really having thought about this language, not because this is the best language, but because it's some language for us to edit as opposed to drafting something from the beginning.
That's fair.
That understanding that we could cross the whole thing out if the committee says that Greenfield doesn't want a crowd control ordinance. But that would really help me to facilitate this well and hear as many voices as possible. It's really kind of grabbing the language first. Counselor Webb?
Could I offer,
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful if you could create an agenda for the meeting that was like,
Yeah.
that goes through these questions that we're asking, like, what is consensus among those in the room? What is the goal intent of this ordinance? And then, like, do we want crowd control included in this? Like, having directed questions, I think would be nice, and we can send you those as well.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
help to keep it on track. Like, I think we want to avoid the rabbit hole, right? And so having like small questions, I think would help that.
Great. Okay. I will do that. And I think there's like the history of where we started with this, the current, and then the question of, I don't think we're questioning whether we need a First Amendment ordinance, but the question, do we want a crowd control ordinance? And if we got to a yes, then we're looking at specific language. And to me, there's a logic to this that maybe have too many words but I will present that logic in questions to see, do we want these certain things? And yes, if you have any suggestions or questions to shape the agenda, please let me know. Then the next question is timing, when there's a room available, and working with the clerk's office to make that happen. Any suggestions for that?
The fire station's
Do it.
meeting room, the little tiny meeting room is actually really quiet.
Yes. Although there may be, I would welcome a big turnout from the community for
true.
this one. I think we would need a bigger room to make sure that we're hearing as many voices as
You are
possible.
correct.
Would it be crazy to do it before a council meeting?
Yes, because we don't want an upper limit of time, unfortunately. No, it wouldn't be, I'm so sorry, I don't mean.
No, I'm not offended. No, it was a.
Yeah, we're really in the zone, we're really I want us to have the space to do what the committee is asking for, which is have ample time to really process it.
The library's conference room has a Zoom setup.
The what?
The library's conference room.
Which conference?
The library.
Library. I am
Sorry, I
getting
can't.
old. I'm sorry, losing my hearing. Library conference room. Okay. Okay, I will ask Tammy. I'm going to work with Tammy. No, I have a request. Committee members tonight, can you please email me what days you are not available in the next month? And me and the clerk's office. So then we can have those and we can work with the days you are available. And then we need Counselor Brown and Counselor Jordan. Okay. And can you write that? Who's writing notes to Tammy? Can you write this note to
Yes, I
Tammy?
will.
Tammy, thank you for orchestrating. Okay. And anything else to say about the First Amendment Assembly Ordinance and crowd control? No. Great. Moving on from that. The next item for discussion is the proposed new ordinance to require elected and appointed officials to review and test the accuracy of property records. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
welcome.
First of all, I've had an awful lot of fun working with the assessors.
Okay,
The assessor's purpose is to raise money to cover the budget.
hold on one sec, just to welcome you and make sure folks in the community know who you are. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Jim Geisman. I'm the chair of the Board of Assessors. my second term. Um, it has been an interesting path with the assessors because people don't really understand what we do, and we do it only one time. We set values on properties so that the budget can be covered. That's it. There are a lot of refinements, but and in order to do that, we need an accurate database. And the database is derived from the property record cards, and the property record cards should be accurate, but sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So the intent of this proposal is to set a good example for the citizenry. And I think anybody who's elected, certainly, and anybody who's appointed, I think, ought to set an example, a good example. And that's why the property record cards are available online so people can download them, print them, verify the information. And, that's it. There are certainly issues about how many people and who's going to comply. First of all, the mayor referred to ethics training, and there is no ethics training. It's conflict of interest training, and everybody ought to go through that with no exception. Why there's no compliance, I don't know. That's probably because nobody chases it down. In this particular case, the process as I envision it, and I've had some discussions with the clerk's office, is whenever somebody is elected or appointed, there's usually a letter that goes out that says congratulations and whatever it is. And all I'm proposing is that you add something to that greeting letter that says, pull your property record card, certify it. And in fact, it could even point to a section on our website where we, reiterate that and tell people how they can pull their PRCs. And, there's some discussion about how difficult that is. And frankly, I don't see it as being very difficult. But further, and I think I raised this in an email to you, if something's a good idea, you do it. And if you can't do it because of some reason, you deal with the reason. And I think having people sign off on their property record cards sets a good example for everybody. And in fact, we could have although we haven't yet, could have a yearly drive to have everybody, go on the site and pick up their property record cards. There are some issues in terms of gathering data that goes on the property record cards, but those are issues that aren't relevant for this particular discussion. That's it.
So I'll ask questions first.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I see your hand. You can go first.
Questions.
Be gentle, Max. Be gentle, please.
No, I think it's great. My concerns, which I think they're already covered, so I want to be but so I'm a renter, and this wouldn't mean that I would need to
No.
Okay, great. That would be
what it means is you just, send us an email or on a piece of paper say, I'm a renter. And by the way, if you have the good fortune of buying a house, then you have 30 days to let us know about the PRC, which you ought to be checking anyhow because the realtor doesn't tell the truth.
All things that I hope to think about one day. I also am wondering, it keeps referencing property record cards. Is that a card that can be sent out in the congratulations letter that might be easier to send back or something?
It could. Yeah, I'd have to look into that because what that would require is doing a manual search of the database. And if there's a way to automate it so we can kick out the cards, that would be great.
Cool. And my last thing, oh, go ahead.
Pardon?
I was just my last thing is I liked your idea of doing the property review property record cards drive. think community events like that are fun and easier, then I would also support that. Otherwise, I think it's great.
So I really want to appreciate the I do the intention, and it's like if there's a need, I see it more as like there's so many good ideas. There's so many good ideas that we're not currently implementing because of challenges with implementation and enforcement. And I want to help think through like if there's a real need, like more the way I think about it is if there's a good idea, it's likely because there's a real need that needs to be met. And there might be multiple ways to meet that need. And some strategies may be based in good intent, but may not be enforceable or may have unfortunate consequences. And I've thought a lot about what we can and cannot require electeds to do. And frankly, there's things that I wish that we could require electeds to do that we don't have the ability to legislate. And so I really want to like, if there's a real need, I want to help think through how to meet it. And I'm not convinced that this is the way to do it because I don't know how this is enforceable or implementable. That's by law, by ordinance. And I don't know that an ordinance is the way to do it. But one thing I do hear you saying is that the assessor's office could send out a letter to everyone. It could be, I don't know that it's happening anymore, but I know there was like a civility pledge that counselors were asked to comply with. And I don't even know if I got it 4 years ago, but for example, that was one thing I wanted counselors to be able to say they were going to be civil to each other. That wasn't a possibility. Because we can't legislate electeds' behavior because they're elected by their constituents. And also we have real budgetary constraints right now. So the budgetary problems here. But if you're saying the assessor's office is able to send out a letter, there's also way more that happens outside of the city that's not based in ordinance, it's based in policy or procedure that if the assessor's office can just send out letters, or this could be put into a packet that the clerk's office sends out, but they don't have any other work that they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like it's a possible solution as opposed to having an ordinance.
Well, frankly, I guess the fundamental issue is, should this be a law?
Yeah,
And frankly, probably not. It's a norm. It ought to be a norm.
Agreed.
And I think people ought to conform to certain norms. As we know, they're observed in the breach. So if an ordinance is the sort of thing that'll give people some incentive to do it, that's great. But you're right. I mean, it's basically toothless. I mean, every ordinance, I think, here is toothless unless you want to go to court.
It's a good question.
And if people want to violate the norm and they want to be crude in a meeting, if they want to yell at their peers, if they don't want to be civil, they're breaking the norm, then what are you going to do about it?
And so it sounds like you're saying, what is the best process possible to uphold this one?
Yeah, I mean, the norm that I would like everybody to adhere to is at least once a year, or if you're doing any sort of, if you're pulling permits, if you're thinking about selling the house, you're just bought a house, you verify the information on the card. So we make sure you're paying the appropriate amount of taxes. I ran some numbers a while back. First of all, we're 75 residential, 25 commercial. And there have been some comments that the commercial may be undervalued. Stuff happens. So, but if commercial were undervalued by 10%,
Yeah.
That means your taxes and, were raised to the proper level. Your taxes would go down by 3%.
Yeah.
So personally, I hate tax cheats. I think everybody ought to pay the fair amount and everybody's going to complain about it. And we deal with that every day. But I'm happy to lower valuations if
Yeah.
you want to lower the budget. What services do you want to give up?
Right.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
No, I think we share like, see the need.
How much do you think this is happening, that people aren't,
How much?
are that residential owners aren't paying their fair share or their valued share?
I don't really have a good idea other than there's 7,100 parcels and there are probably a few hundred.
A few hundred?
Yeah.
And are there complaints? And then I'll go to you.
Are
there
there
complaints
specific?
coming in about appointed or elected officials not doing this?
No, none whatsoever. But complaints do come in when people are filing for abatements. They say, my house is overvalued. They're not going to come to us and say it's undervalued, by the way. So it's overvalued. Well, why do you say it's overvalued? Well, the person next to me and across the street, and you take a look at their tax bill and their house, and it's kind of like mine, and it's in the neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
It's not like your neighbor says you,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
But if it happens to be your neighbor,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, Counselor Webb?
I'm also hearing like, Jim, you're talking about wanting to kind of change the culture of how we approach these things and like make it a norm. And I hear this in like other conversations around the city. And I guess I'm wondering, like, Sarah, maybe like when we're talking about the precinct meetings, like it could be like you have the assessors also have a little setup there where people can be like, check your property cards. Or then I also think like in terms of like what policy could be done, like with the assessors, like you brought up a lot of good options of like when to check your property records cards and when to verify it and everything. Like it could, I have never owned a home. I'm not anywhere close to owning a home. Like everything you're saying is just like, it would be news to me. Like I would need a first time home owners class. And so I think like you are dealing with a lot of that as well. Like, I don't know. I think there's some education and then some more like prompting that could happen that might be helpful in like a culture change in general to be more
Yeah,
forthcoming
well,
with that information.
I think I agree with you, Max. I think the issue is that people don't have enough information about what assessors do and what we don't do and what we can and can't do. And frankly, hey, if the council would sit still for an educational session on assessment,
Yeah.
which we have, and which we have been presenting, I think we've done it 4 times, and none of the councilors showed up, but that's okay, because it wasn't very well publicized. But we would love to be in front of the council to explain to you how you get to spend the money that you do.
How long? I mean, it could be
Be an
something.
hour,
Okay.
hour-ish.
Uh-huh. Is it possible? I'm just thinking that President Wondolowski has been inviting different department heads to give presentations. We haven't done one recently. They're not an hour long. They're like maybe 20 minutes. So it would have to be the condensed version.
No, we could
But
do
would
something.
you want to do that? Because I would be happy to like.
Let me flip the question.
Yeah.
Would you like to
Yeah, I think
learn
that's
where the money
incredibly
comes
important.
from?
Yes.
It's incredibly important.
Not only
I think
would
it's a
we-
priority. Yeah.
Sorry, not only would we want to, but I think because all of our meetings are publicly recorded, they're publicly available. That's an extra point of information for the public.
Right.
And that would be fine.
Yeah, it's not just for us at that point.
Yeah, we by the,
Well, Councilor Webb, yeah?
Right, like if you're
We can't.
Speak up.
I'm thinking I lost my words. if your PowerPoint is in the meeting, then it's also public record. And I know it's also on the website, but people check the meeting agenda. Yeah, I have seen the PowerPoint. It's great.
You have seen it.
Yeah, you
You have
emailed
seen?
last year. It was great.
When was it?
We can't hear- we can't hear you.
You're cutting, your volume's cutting in and out. When did you see it? Or?
You sent it to me before you started doing the presentations. And it was
Yeah,
great.
you had asked if we would show up at a precinct meeting, and I think I sent you the deck. I mean, the
Yes.
deck gets revised and all that, and it's already on GCTV and the assessor's playlist. We did this in June 15th. And the conference room at the library is the front conference room. That's the
Okay.
one that's Zoom equipped.
Yeah.
I mean, look. I think the chief assessor and I are pretty well aligned. We want to get the word out.
Yeah,
And we want people to adhere to the law.
agreed.
And we have a number of property owners in town who see things differently. And is that the right thing to do? I don't think so. I mean, I'm all for take your choice, public hanging, public shaming.
I don't want to be part
We
of
don't
either,
want to go there.
but accountability is
That's
important.
exactly right.
Yeah, and making sure, yeah.
So I actually have, in the chat, Councilor Dilma says, FYI, just a note, I looked at my property cards, there's two, because there's a Patriot card, and then there's another one.
Yeah.
I don't see any information on how to change them. Some of the information on her cards is inaccurate, and
Great.
so that leads
Let
me
us know.
to wonder, does Greenfield actually control its own GIS records? Do we have access to that, or do we fund that out to some outside service?
Well, I'm not sure what you are asking. The GIS stuff has to do with the lots and all the right of ways and all that other stuff. That GIS system is farmed out.
Okay,
The definition of the parcels is under our control.
okay, because when I do my little spy work and I look at historic properties and things like that,
Yeah.
I access it through the GIS.
Yes.
So it turns out I'm apparently doing it from the back end with the GIS system and not going through the property cards, which happen to be posted on the GIS, correct?
You access them through the GIS system. That is correct.
Okay. So if we have that information, is it possible then for people to submit changes to their information that way, or would they have to come in?
Yeah, I think we're pretty loose on that. So if you see an error, you can come in. The issue is we set the property record cards and we don't change them through the year. So if you see a mistake, we will pick it up in the next revision of our property record cards. But if you see a mistake, let us know and we'll let you know whether we caught it on an inspection or something like that.
Okay.
But, look, our point is we want to do right by the town.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have the counselors understand what we do, why we do it, so that they can address constituents' issues. And certainly, we will continue to do that.
Perfect. So let's say that I want a house. I don't, that's the dream, but I'm not there. What happens if I'm an elected official
Yeah.
and I go, I don't feel like paying my taxes and I don't update that information annually? What kind of enforceability would we be looking for on that level?
Well, that's a really good question because in property record cards, unlike when you apply for an abatement or an exemption or something like that, you sign under pain and penalty of perjury. If you update your property record card, there's no pain or penalty. But for heaven's sake,
Wow.
and look, there are dishonest rats in the world and can't do anything about them, just like you can't do anything about cockroaches.
Unfortunately. But
So
Yeah,
I'm just wondering here whether we ought to table the idea of an ordinance and rather piggyback the idea of reviewing your property record cards. Start with the council. Then we go down to the heads of commissions. And then we can go to the members of the various and sundry commissions. So we can roll this out in a more controlled and orderly fashion. But if somebody doesn't, if you don't want to sign off on your property record card, what would it look like in the report?
I don't, that conversation will happen.
No, I just turned to it because I knew.
That was off the record.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, no, that's-
I'll keep you. I
Yeah.
got your back.
Thank you. But I think that the point is, if everybody does it but one, you got to ask why. Or, my personal information, I don't want to disclose this. Hey, it's already there. All you got to do is make sure it's right.
It's public record, right?
Yeah, it is public record
Okay.
because anybody can go in and get anybody's record card.
Yeah.
that's how I look up all
Yeah.
my historic properties.
Good for you.
Well, I will ask someday about the 1900 thing, but not today.
Not today.
You've been great,
Okay, Catherine.
Catherine. Sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it is a good idea.
Okay.
And thank you to you and to the assessor's office for.
It's a team effort.
So do you want me, or can we actually, it'll be easier for me if we put it to Tammy to on the next committee chair meeting to please put talking to Jim Geisman and the Board of Assessors to schedule that for a council meeting. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, does that
Yeah,
sound?
no, that sounds fun.
That's a
Okay.
good idea.
Thank you for your grace too, with me pushing back. I appreciate it.
You don't push hard.
I,
You're relatively gentle compared to some people that have pushed back.
I'm aware, yeah,
But thank you, Catherine.
yeah.
All right.
Always good to see you.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes, I know, 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Next committee chairs meeting, extend invitations then or at the,
To talk about when in the upcoming meetings would be a good time and and maybe Tammy also between meetings to reach out to Jim and see
Sure.
when would be a good meeting that would work with your
Yeah.
schedule as well.
Yeah, and forgive me for submitting this. I didn't know.
No,
I
It
didn't
made
know any
sense.
better.
No, Jim, it made
It's
sense
no,
because it
please don't.
facilitated the discussion.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Yeah, no, really, no, thank you. Please don't apologize. I'm glad. This, clearly it's important to flush things out together.
Yep.
So, thank
No,
you.
I'm-
remember how few people bring stuff forward
Yeah.
like this, you know?
Thank you to everyone who's still here. We may disagree with each other. We may disagree with each other vehemently sometimes, but that's how we have community participation is by bringing things to the table. So,
Well, it's also by having people like you who will serve and not get paid for hardship to do.
thank you.
But anyhow,
And you too. Yeah.
thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
thank you for your service, as I
Have a
say.
good night. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
you
good
too.
resting with us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Drink a little bit of water first. Don't need a break. Oh. Need a break. Okay. Okay, so now we're moving on to discussion of the gender identity protection ordinance. And I will share, there were some small changes from the last time that you will see by just reading through. There were two things that I committed to the committee to research. One was the definition of gender identity and gender affirming care and gender, and did a bunch of research on that. And in law, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 59
has a definition of gender identity. And so I deleted what we had had, and this definition is that. Right? So these definitions are now in alignment with state law. And the other thing that I was asked to do is there's section 4 E, actually, what the hell is it? E, any anti-bias training for city employees shall consider gender expression, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And that there was a question about whether we are required by state law to do any anti-bias training. And we currently are not. There hasn't been one in a while. We are not. There was a concern about funding in this, and there were a lot of things that if we had an unlimited budget, that we would do. And there was talk about making anti-bias training required. But for example, we chose not to do that because we knew that that would take money. And so this clause just says that if there is, it shall consider these things. And there isn't any training that we're required to do that does not include these things. I will also say that the one new thing is that the Erin Anwalt from the mayor's office reached out with concerns about the parts that says that policies shall be created. She reached out. I have not been able to talk to her, but I shared with her that I would bring that to the committee. I tried to talk to her, I wasn't able to. I would bring that concern to the committee, and I think that that would need to be a question for once the committee is set for the lawyer, although we could talk to them. Like if the committee was set to bring this to the attorney and have it be a hearing, then the lawyer could give the opinion at that point. But I want to express that it's going to be important to be on the same page about that and to understand which clauses they're concerned about.
Can you repeat what Erin's concern was?
Yes, and I'll paraphrase that there are a couple of clauses in here that say that, and I'll look for them. And I think that these are the clauses that she was concerned about. Section 4, she didn't state which sections, but section 4A, that gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation shall be included in these policies. And there's a question about whether an ordinance can stipulate what policies are written, because policies are typically written by departments. I think that this is more of a legal question. And then there was the gender protection, but she said she was welcome to receive suggestions. So a gender protection implementation ad hoc committee may be created to review and make suggestions about policy. So I think that the 4A was the question of the concern she had. I took several days. I took the beginning of the week off because my son went to college and I couldn't talk to her in the time between when she reached out and this, but I wanted to communicate that to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in 4A though,
Yeah.
Identity, expression, and sexual orientation will be included in the list of protected classes in all city non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and equal employment opportunity policies. Those are policies that are overall for the city, not specific to a department.
Correct. And so I am making a guess that that's where she was concerned, and there may not actually, I mean, I could read her email.
Yeah, why don't you just read it so we know exactly what she said. Thank you.
And I don't know that we need to figure this out. I just wanted to make sure that her concern was represented. Under the charter, the mayor, as the head of the executive branch, has general supervision and direction over city agencies and employees and is responsible for the efficient administration, creating and implementing city policies, such as those addressing non-discrimination and harassment and employment, are clearly within the scope of the mayor's authority under the charter. And while city council cannot dictate the specific content of these policies, rules, and regulations, we do not object to the subcommittee reviewing existing policies. So there's a difference between ordinance. We do have Greenfield, the Greenfield Charter does allow us to have ordinances governing city staff. She's seeing a difference between policies and ordinances. And I asked, is it the specific ordinance that you're concerned about? She didn't respond about that. And I have not been able to speak with her.
Okay.
Yesterday morning.
Okay, that needs to get clarified.
Yeah, that's a lawyer question.
So what triggers the creation of this ad hoc subcommittee?
It is, as it would be even if it wasn't stated, it is actually the jurisdiction of the, a subcommittee chair has the ability to create it with the approval of a city council president. So for example, I was a member of the ad hoc subcommittee discussing 7778, which govern initiatives and referendums in Greenfield. And Dan Gwynn, who was the chair of A&O at that time, decided to do that, and he appointed the members. When President Wondolowski chaired the committee, community relations, she decided to do the ad hoc subcommittee on unhoused people, and she appointed the members. So it doesn't even need to be written here for that to be possible.
Okay.
But it wanted to cover that.
Okay.
Especially where it's a gray area, whether or not we can effectively manage our policies. That's the kind of thing. If it's created to review the city's HR policies, what will we do? Issue recommendations?
Yeah. Yep. Any ad hoc, that's typically the purpose of an ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
And she's saying that she's open to that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That part, I don't think she's disagreeing with that. She just wants to.
She just wants clarity.
Yes.
I think it looks really good, actually.
Yeah, I like this.
Very well done.
Are there any questions or concerns or anything else that would need to be changed? Any concerns? Because I've given the clerk's office my word that we will bring things to a public hearing. So our process is, I don't want everybody to be able to see my hands. The process is, I'll do it like this, is this A&O, the Appointments and Ordinances Subcommittee, discusses things until we feel ready to bring it to a public hearing, meaning we don't have any other questions or concerns about it. We could be clear that we're going to vote no. It's still ready for a public hearing, but we don't have any other questions or concerns. Then we say it's ready for a public hearing. Before it goes to a public hearing, it's reviewed by the attorney. And I've given her my word that we will bring things to that point so that we're not going back to the attorney frequently, because that's a significant cost to the city. And so that's been our process. And so that's where that question's coming from. Councillor Webb?
I don't have any questions or updates. I did just want to address, I think, I can't see if Pam's in the room still, but you were concerned about the severability. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You were concerned about the severability clause, and that's, I think, common in most of our ordinances.
Yeah.
And then just the necessity of the ordinance. I will say I can speak on this personally because I am trans, and nobody wants to write a law about themselves to be safe. Like, we're not doing it for fun, and if we didn't think it was necessary, then we wouldn't be doing it. I actually haven't worked on this that much because it's such a big drain, and I'm grateful that Councilor Golub has done a lot of work on this. So yeah, I just, I fair questions to ask why we're passing this if you're not trans, or you don't, have any abnormal gender expressions, whatever. So, to the people that it matters to, it does matter and it is important.
Yeah, I think we're ready for a public hearing.
Great. Yeah. Do we feel ready for a public hearing? That's not a vote, but nod. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we are too.
Excellent,
Okay. So
excellent.
can you write that to Tammy? It may be that we are talking about, it's also a cost to the city. Every time there's a public hearing, it has to go into the Greenfield Recorder, and that is a cost. And so we're working to stagger. It's true. This committee is doing a lot of work. It's doing a lot of work in bringing forward proposals. And to minimize costs to the city, we're trying to stagger how we put the announcements for public hearings into the paper. And we're also trying to stagger how many ordinances or how many proposals come to city council at once, so that we have time to talk about the things that are on the agenda at city council. So given those two considerations, it may be that this is on next month's agenda for a public hearing, or it may be because of the cost, the clerk decides to put it the next month, but that clerk Scott will help discern that, and the committee chairs will discern that together.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. We are continuing to meet on Wednesdays. I think we announced that last time, right? That we would do Thursdays if the room became available, but it's not. So we're sticking with Wednesdays. So the next meeting will be Wednesday, September 9th at 6:30 in this room and on Zoom. And we are ready to take a motion to adjourn.
I have a point of information.
Okay.
Speaking of ordinances.
Okay. But just to know that I might cut you off if it's not on the agenda. And so we're only allowed to talk about things on the agenda according to open meeting law.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a plan. I'm bringing forward an ordinance for the next agenda.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
How's that? All right. Okay.
So
Kept it legal.
there's stuff we're doing, guys. So
Stuff we're doing.
there's stuff we're doing. So I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll take
Second.
second. All right. Counselor Webb?
Let's leave.
Huh? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Bulldog?
Yes.
Counselor Golub is yes. This meeting is adjourned at 7:58.
Thank
Have a good night.
you.